Hello, I'm Avis Kalfsbeck, and this is the Peace is Here podcast. Welcome to Peacewarts, School of Peacecraft and Inquiry, where we practice the skills of peace through short classes. We take the peace work seriously, but not ourselves. If you're joining us mid-school year, you're not late. Orientation begins at episode 198. Welcome back to Peacewarts, friends and peace scholars. We've moved from the history archives of Chronicle Courage into the Department of Resonant Charms. You will notice the air here feels different. It's crisp, and every sound seems to carry a bit further. In other places, you might study rhetoric or media literacy as a way to win an argument or master a message. But in this chamber, we study the physics of connection. We call them charms because we're looking for the words and the frequencies that have the power to change the atmosphere. Over the doorway where you just entered, the inscription reads, "Language is the first architecture." It reminds us that before we build a wall or a bridge, we build the idea of it with our words. Our departmental axiom, the rule that governs every conversation in this room, is resonance over reach. We're not interested in how many people hear you. We're interested in how deeply the truth of your message vibrates within them. This department exists to prevent manipulation masquerading as consensus. We're here to dismantle the noise that keeps us from hearing the humanity of our neighbors. Your primary instrument here is your attunement. You are going to learn how to listen for the flat notes in propaganda and the sharp edges in dehumanizing language. We don't use speech to cast a spell over people. We use it to break the spells of fear and division that have already been cast. A word of caution. It is very easy in this chamber to only listen to the notes that harmonize with your own. But a single note is not music. If you only use your charms to talk to people who already agree with you, you aren't practicing peace. You're practicing a monologue. The real magic happens when you find the resonance between two seemingly discordant voices. Class 1, the tuning fork test. Now that you have crossed the threshold, let us begin. We are in the echo chamber. This room is built to filter out the static of the ego so we can focus on the physics of human interaction. The 13th century Persian poet and scholar of the heart, Rumi, once observed, "There is a voice that doesn't use words. Listen." The entry, the climate of the room. In the Department of Resonant Charms, we teach that 70% of a conflict is carried in the signal, not the sentence. Most people enter a room and focus on the content, what they're going to say. A peace scholar focuses on the climate, how the room feels. The tuning fork test is a 10-second pre-speech scan. Before you speak, you must notice 3 channels. First is the body channel. Are the shoulders in the room hiked or dropped? Second is the voice channel. Is the pace hurried or steady? Third is the space channel. Is there a sense of withdrawal or engagement? By naming the frequency, guarding, rushing, or heavy, you identify the note you're about to play against. The history, the listening circles of South Africa. We look to the 1990s and the work of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission in South Africa, when the nation was vibrating at the jagged frequency of decades of state-sponsored violence. The commissioners didn't begin with proposals or legal arguments. They began with the structure of the listening circle. They recognized that the social frequency was a false note. Precision was often masking deep-seated anger, and silence was often withdrawal rather than agreement. By mandating a period of pure listening before any testimony could be entered into the record, they forced a massive deceleration of the national nervous system. They realize that you cannot build a new frequency of justice on top of the old frequency of fear. You have to wait for the old sediment to settle. The thesis: attuning versus matching. The lesson for today is that copying intensity escalates the vibration. If you enter a room where the frequency is loud and fast, your instinct will be to match it to be heard. This is a mistake. To be a tuning fork is to practice attunement, which means responding 1/2 step lower in volume and 1 breath slower in pace. We used the 1 breath behind technique, waiting exactly 1 second after someone finishes speaking before we begin. This small gap in the signal breaks the sympathetic resonance of the conflict. You're not reading the room to steer it or manipulate it. You're reading the room to connect with it. If you cannot hear the frequency yet, you're not ready to play. The Commons Forge. How does this concept of emotional attunement support a world of sharing? It reminds us that our internal state is never purely private property. The nervous system is a common pool resource. When we treat the emotional atmosphere of a room as a shared pasture, entering with unchecked panic or hostility becomes an act of psychological overgrazing. By utilizing the tuning fork test, a peace scholar actively stewards this relational commons, foraging a calm, resilient climate where community members feel safe enough to collaborate and share their collective lives. Homework. 1. Look up the term emotional contagion and find one study or example of how a single person's stress or calm can physically change the heart rate of others in the same room. 2. Write down one question about any of this episode's topics. If you don't have a question, write "no question." 3. Optional. Enter a room today. It could be a kitchen, a meeting, or a store, and wait 10 seconds before speaking. Name the frequency in one neutral word, like tight, hurried, or calm. Try to speak 1/2 step softer than the volume of the room and notice if the temperature changes. If you'd like to read more on this subject, some book suggestions are My Grandmother's Hands by Resmaa Menakem, which explores the deep somatic connections of how collective calm or trauma vibrates through a room's emotional climate, and The Master of His Emissary by Ian McGilchrist, a brilliant look at how we attend to our environment and why focusing strictly on verbal content fails if we ignore the holistic climate. These are also in the show notes with the homework. The clear signal. A clear signal is a patient signal. Listening is not the absence of action, it is the first action. Practice the 10-second scan today and let the climate tell you what the content should be. Until our next lesson, keep your heart in the harmonic. Class dismissed. Thank you for listening. If you're looking for your next read, I write books about strong friends, wild places, and a future worth the effort. The Pedro the Water Dog Saves the Planet series follows 2 best friends, Tilly and Camus, strong, funny, and in love with the wild world, who decide their small choices add up to something. Hopeful eco-fiction for grown-ups, climate fiction without the doom. You can jump in anywhere or start with book 1. In 1 more year, Tilly can swim like a dolphin and run like the wind. She just never learned to cycle, which is a problem because she's decided to attempt her first Ironman. Her reason isn't glory. It's a quiet, stubborn idea. If one ordinary person can finish something this hard, maybe a whole town can be talked into buying less, wasting less, and keeping their stuff longer. 1 more year. To pull it off, Tilly leans on her best friend and coach Camus, tattooed, tequila-loving, and exactly the voice you'd want yelling at you from the shore, plus a gruff, retired cycling pro hiding out on a private island, a pack of maverick mountain bikers, a salty old pirate named Ike, and Pedro, her devoted water dog. Together they train, scheme, fall a little in love, and slowly realize their northwest lake town of Sandglass is facing a threat bigger than any race. My books are available wherever books are sold, including at avaskolfsbeck.com. Podcast music is by Javier Peque Rodriguez, and the track is I Am Late, Madame Curie. Sound effects are from Pixabay. Regarding peace, we need not delay or despair. We are not late. We are right on time to love. We are all scholars of peace. Listen for the peace